Hi, beautiful people. This is Alana Wilson. This is Becoming Me podcast. I am your host. Today, we have Mandy on. Mandy is such an inspiration. She's been through so much, and there's so much that she's definitely suppressing. And so it's so important that we touch on certain topics today. We're touching on topics of domestic violence, absentee fathers, and alcoholism. Definitely, if you get triggered very easily by things like that, this is your content warning. I'm so happy to have you here. Get comfortable and just enjoy the podcast. Transformation isn't sweet and bright. It's a dark and murky, painful pushing, an unraveling of the untruths you've carried in your body. A practice in facing your own created demons, a complete uprooting before becoming. Hi, beautiful people. This is Alana Wilson. I am your host. This is Becoming Me podcast. I am here with Mandy today. How are you, Mandy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. All right. So tell me, how was the trip here? You came from Meriden. That's where you're from?
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Sharon, Connecticut, where I was born, but I was grown and raised in Cromwell.
In Cromwell.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell me about that. Tell me about Cromwell and your experience growing up.
My mother was a single mother up until I was about 6. My father was always an alcoholic. I've heard stories about how he would drive from North Canaan up there. I'd be in a car seat. This was the one story that my mom told me that made me not want to be with have a relationship with my dad. He drove from North Canaan, which is up by where Mass, on the border of Mass and Connecticut are. Mm-hmm. Thankfully I was in the car seat, but I wasn't strapped in correctly. I was just thrown on the floorboard of the passenger seat. Mm. He drove stone drunk all the way to South Meriden to my grandparents.
Wow.
And it was my mom's parents and my grandmother's parents there. And my great-grandmother had to hold my great-grandfather back from wanting to kill him.
Wow.
When he found that out. So me and my father never really had a healthy relationship, as you would say. He's just been in and out with alcohol and everything.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So tell me about how that makes you feel that you didn't have that relationship with your father.
I mean, I didn't feel too upset over it because I had my mom's parents raising me because she was a single mother. She taught. By the time she came home, my grandparents took over. So it was only weekends I was with my mother. Pretty much my grandparents raised me. My great-grandparents raised me. So just not having him in my life wasn't really an inconvenience for me because I had my mom's side of the family taking care of me and helping her along her way.
Okay. So tell me about what that was like growing up with your grandparents.
Being the first grandchild out of 5 grandchildren my mom's parents have, because my mom has me and my brother, and then my aunt has 3 kids. So being the oldest I was pretty much spoiled my whole life until my brother and cousins came along, and then I'm like, do I have to share? But my grandmother would not allow my mother to buy me clothes from Walmart and all the other stores. So my grandmother went to Oshkosh, all the other name brands. So my grandmother did all the shopping. She took care of me for most of my life. So it was just, I was thankful to have more family than just my mom.
So is that what you would describe it as, is thankful? Was there any part of you that was kind of just feeling like you were missing at all? Like there was a part of you that should be somebody else that should be in there, that should be, helping you through those moments?
Not really, because I had my mom, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. I had pretty much my dad just became dead to me once all those stories I was told. So it's he wasn't really there for me. I had other people, so it's I really didn't need my father there.
Right. Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about your father? Do you know who he was before that story?
All I've really known of him is he was an alcoholic. He hurt my mother by cheating on her. I just really always knew bad stuff about him. There was no really good about him.
There's nothing really good about him.
No, there wasn't really anything positive about him.
So you know his parents?
When I was growing up, I used to go the day after Christmas. My grandmother on my dad's side is the one that would always set it up. She's the main reason why I still had a relationship with my father growing up. But when she died in 2002, that's when the visit stopped. She was the one that kept us together. And then once I lost her, he just stopped caring and just called Christmas, birthday, any holiday he could think of to call me.
Mm-hmm. And so was that like intentional? Like, was he deciding, okay, holidays are going to be the only time I'm going to call?
Honestly, Alana, I don't really know what his intentions were after my grandmother died. He was just like all over the place.
Right.
So you could never really know what he was intending to do. So it was kind of hard.
So going back to your childhood, how did this affect you, like growing up as a whole? Like, take me to your childhood and then kind of bring me through your childhood into your teen years.
My mother was a single mother up until I was about 6 or 7. And then she met my stepdad. And then they got married when I was 8 in 2003. And that's when I finally knew that there is someone out there that can step up and be a father to me and help me. He's been there through everything more than my actual father was.
Wow.
And when I turned 16 is when I changed my last name legally to my stepfather's name. Because the last name I had didn't really mean anything to me.
Right. And that's pretty interesting because I myself am going through a little bit of like a confusing time right now, with my own father and the last name and like whether or not I should have that last name. Because, my last name is Wilson. Everyone knows me as Alana Wilson. But, his last name is King. And I want to be close to his family, while also realizing that he himself is toxic to me and I should kind of detach from him. But it's hard because his family, they're really great people. And also, the King name means a lot from where I'm from. I'm from Jamaica.
Yeah.
And, because there's a lot of, high-end kind of people there that carry that name. And so it's I'm kind of on the fence. And so, like, what is it that made you decide, besides him just being, like not a good father, like what is it that made you decide that you didn't want to carry his name?
Well, what I did, because I was still in high school, my special ed teacher told me, and my mother told me to write down at least 5 things of reasons why I wanted to change it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to change it is, well, one of them is because I was the only person in my household with a different last name. And I wanted to be I wanted to be part of that family, even though I already was. But I just felt out of place with the last name I had, and that last name really didn't mean much to me.
So, how do you kind of feel about like that integration of how, the integration into your stepfather's family? Like, does that make you feel whole now? Or is there a part of you that still feels like there's something missing?
Like, I don't feel like nothing's missing, because from day one, ever since I met my stepfather's family, they welcomed me in like my mother had me with him, versus I was someone from a previous marriage. So I just feel more loved. There's more family.
Tell me about your father's relationship with your mother, and her upbringing, because I'm almost curious to hear about the generational trauma that might have led to her choice in that relationship versus, her final choice to be in that relationship, in that healthy relationship with your stepfather?
The relationship, what I've known from what my grandmother has told me, is he was the one that would always drink, cheat on her, and she finally found stability with my stepfather because they went through, it was a company in Rocky Hill that helped, like a matchmaker sort of thing in Rocky Hill that helped her find the right one. And it was just a connection that when I first met him, I knew she was happy, healthy, and I knew this would work.
Well, that's good. Tell me about your mother's upbringing. Like, what was her life like? Where did she grow up?
She was born in North Carolina in the 70s. My grandfather was in the Marines, so she was born I believe while he was still serving in the Marines. So she was born in North Carolina. And she said it was I don't know if it was sort of a hard relation, like growing up in the Marines, but I don't know how it was. But she said she was born in North Carolina, and then I think once he got out, they came back here to this Connecticut.
Okay. And how do you think it made her feel being a single mother?
It was hard on her. She would work 2 to 3 jobs, trying to support her, trying to support me, and back in the 90s, only getting $11 for child support from my father.
Wow.
There was one time she said that she actually had to go into his bank account and get it out because he was not paying it.
Wow.
Versus where child support now, you're getting like thousands out of the other parent. Like, I'm just seeing, like, it's funny to see how back then when we were growing up, how our parents got like very little for child support versus now where I'm getting $70 a week from my daughter's father. It's funny to see how the amount of child support changes over the years. And I never thought I'd be in that situation too.
So what do you think was going on with her as to why it is that she made that decision to be in a relationship with somebody that was so toxic?
At the time, I don't think she knew who his true colors were at the time. I think she said shortly after she got married is when she started noticing it.
And did you like see how hard it was on her, like growing up being a single mother? Like, was there like things she'd say or do growing up that kind of you could tell?
I could just tell because I was always with my grandparents, always with my great-grandparents, because it was hard on her working 2 jobs, one of them being teaching, coming home at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, eating, and then going to bed. So I was always with my grandparents. So I just could tell it was hard on her. It was rare that I got to spend time with her. Mainly the summer when she had off of work from the school was when I saw her more.
And how did that make you feel that you didn't get much time with her?
Kind of a little upsetting, but I knew she was doing it for a good reason because she was trying to better herself to better me so I could have a better life growing up.
Yeah. And how is she as a grandmother now?
Oh, she loves it. As soon as I walk in the door with my youngest, who I came in with today, she's like, give me the baby and go away.
All I need is a baby.
Yeah, that's
surrender the baby.
That's how she was with all 3 kids. Whenever I'd go over, she'd like, I don't want you. Just give me the kid, and you can go do whatever you want in my house.
Oh, yeah. I saw your son out there. He's so adorable. He's staying in the lobby while we're with our friend back there while we have this podcast, and he's just the sweetest. He's so smiley. How do you heal yourself, like through everything that you've been through hearing about your father and whatnot? How do you make sure that you protect your energy?
Well, with having 3 kids, it's kind of hard to do that because I'm the one pretty much taking them everywhere. So it's like once they go to bed, I'm like trying to give myself like at least 5 minutes to breathe.
Right.
And that's not always easy for me.
Yeah. And so what do you think you can do to try to protect your energy and heal yourself and kind of work towards moving forward?
All I can say is I always need coffee on hand because that's what always gets me through the day. And I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to look into going to school so I can get a better job to support my 3 kids.
And so I don't mean to pry, are you with the baby's father?
I've been married to my boy's father for 8 years now.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. So tell me about that relationship. And is there a sense of almost like, lack of trust or anything from watching the relationship that you had with your mother, or hearing about it even, that the toxic aspects of it? Do you think that made you choose good relationships or bad relationships?
I've always been in good ones, but there's always been that change in the person I've been with. Like, it will start out fine, and then it will slowly turn into what I feared that I didn't want for my life.
Tell me about that.
When I graduated from high school in 2013, I met one of my exes, which it was for the first, say, 6 to 7 months, it was fine. But then it started turning worse to the point where we'd fight over stupid shit. And then I'd see myself the next day putting on makeup, just trying to hide the marks and everything before going to work.
So you're saying that he was physically abusive?
Yeah, my very first boyfriend I had, that's how it was. It was between emotional. He would physically and then emotionally abuse me. So it was kind of hard moving on from there.
And tell me about how that made you feel. Did that, going through a domestic violence situation and a dynamic, how did that make you feel being in a relationship like that?
I mean, it was kind of scary. Once I left it, it was kind of scary, and I was nervous to move on because I didn't know if the next person I met would be the same or they'd be different. It was always like trying to play like a game of cards, like, if this card going to be better for me or is it not?
That's a really interesting, way to think about it, is almost like a game of cards and almost like a sense of like rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Every relationship, like not knowing who this person's going to end up being. Because I do, personally, like I resonate with that. Because, a lot of relationships I've been in, have also been very toxic in this sense of they started off as one person and then they became a completely different person. And their intentions changed, their feelings changed. So I definitely resonate with that. Would you say that there were any signs, any red flags, any signs that you saw?
That's the weird thing. There wasn't really any red flags with him, which was kind of like difficult to navigate with him. It would just be day by day, trying to navigate how it would be when he came home from work.
And so how long was that relationship?
Almost 4 years.
Oh, wow. 4 years. So this is an important question here, and it's probably one of the most important questions. What made you stay?
Honestly, to this day, I still don't know why I stayed, because I thought he would change over time, but I guess it never really changed. He just kept staying the same. He kept saying he would change, but nothing really shown or proved to me that he was going to change.
And in what way what was he doing exactly that you were hoping he would change?
Like whenever we would have a fight and stuff would happen, the next morning he'd wake up perfectly fine, saying that he loved me and that he hoped I had a good day and all that. So I didn't know if it had to be like he had to sleep on it, I just don't know what I thought would have changed.
So you were thinking that he was going to sleep on it and kind of just one day wake up and just decide that he wasn't going to put his hands on you anymore, that he wasn't going to, hurt you verbally or emotionally or whatnot anymore. And that's really interesting. I think that there's a lot of people that are going to resonate with this, that are going to hear that and realize that, people are going to be people no matter what.
Yeah.
People aren't, they might, it's very important that you hear them the first time they tell you who they are. And that's something that I've learned as I've gone along, is that is the red flag. Sometimes they'll tell you things very matter-of-factly.
Yeah.
Almost to the point to where you might even think it's a joke. You might, they'll be like, oh, I'm an asshole. And you'll be like, oh, haha, and you'll just laugh about it. And when really that is, who they are.
Yeah.
Something, one of my exes, he always would mention that he hated gay people. And, there were so many things. And, another thing, he would talk about hating gay people. He would talk about being sort of just like this person that was, was mean-spirited. And, I remember he would talk about being on the show Intervention, or not being on the show Intervention, but watching the show Intervention. And, he would laugh about the people that were, on the drugs and, were, going through what they were going through. And he would watch that part of the show. And then he would say he wouldn't watch anymore because he didn't want to see them get help. And that should have been a very big red flag for me. Is just realizing that, this person isn't a nice person. This person doesn't want the best for me. This person doesn't want the best for anybody but himself. And so there were so many red flags, but I think that sometimes red flags, they look different, right? Like they don't always look like what we think a red flag is going to look like.
Yeah, I think the red flags all depend on the certain person you're with. Like certain people can have different ones than what you're used to.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just very sad to think that there's so many people out there that don't see the red flags because they don't know what they look like, especially when you grow up in a certain kind of a household. Like, for example, with you and how you were saying that you didn't really, before your stepdad, you didn't really see a healthy relationship modeled for you. In a way, you saw something healthy, and that healthy thing that you saw was a single mom rather than a mom in a bad relationship that was being abused mentally, verbally, physically, anything like that. You just saw a strong mother, that wasn't being abused. But in a way, you still didn't see that healthy relationship modeled for you. Do you think that had anything to do with you eventually ending up in a relationship that was, a situation where you were being abused?
Like, looking back at my mother's relationship she had with my father, I didn't want that for myself because I saw how much pain in all the stories she's told me and my grandmother's told me. Like, I've never really wanted that for myself.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard because it's like we don't want it for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the law of attraction is a very real thing. And I believe that, you can, because of the energy that you're putting out there of just being innocent and unaware, I think that will sometimes attract the different kinds of people into our lives that we don't want. And so I think that a very important lesson here is that people we don't want are always going to come around.
Yeah.
But it's our choice whether or not we accept them into our lives. And I think the red flags become more red as you go along.
Yeah.
I think that's also something
like the more you go into a relationship, like the more you date, the longer it goes on, the more you see them come out.
I'd say that, but what I even mean by that is almost that the red flags become redder as you go along through multiple relationships, almost. Because each relationship, it's like, okay, well, this was the red flag before that I didn't see. So then the red flags become more apparent and they become redder with each next relationship that you get into. That's kind of more of what I'm talking about. So tell me, how many more relationships after that did you have that led you to the healthy one that you're in right now?
My daughter's father, and then the one I'm in now.
Okay, so there was only 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was that relationship like with your daughter's father?
He had already had a son from a previous relationship, so it was kind of difficult going into that one with him already being a father. So I had to navigate trying to learn to be not just with just the person. I had to be alone with the kid. So it was kind of hard for me in the beginning.
Okay. So what do you think what do you think is a thought pattern behind destructive men and men that are destructive towards other people outside of themselves? When you think about it, what do you think goes on in their mind as to why it is that they abuse in the first place?
Like, I feel like it all comes down to how they were brought up, how they were raised, and how they were treated as a child growing up.
Tell me about that.
Like, I just feel like if they have an abusive parent or an abusive childhood, like, they feel like they have to bring that into their own relationship to make them feel good about themselves.
I definitely believe in that. I believe that men can be very narcissistic.
Yeah.
I think that narcissism they say that is a public health crisis, actually. Narcissism is something it's running rampant right now. It's like any other disease. And it's something that is from the generational traumas of, our families and, the people before us. So, this person treats this person a certain way, and then that leads to that person then treating their child that way. And then, like you said, growing up in a certain environment where, they have issues with their mother or they have issues with their father. I could totally see that being something that leads to narcissism. Would you say that you've met any other narcissists in your life outside of romantic relationships?
No, not that I know of, no.
Okay. Because, I've definitely met a lot, I think. So I'm going to ask you, so you've never met your father actually in person?
I have. Once I had my son in 2021, I reconnected with him in, I believe, the year of 23.
Okay.
And then after that, I just felt like I had to cut it off again, because I just felt like just because you came back into my life doesn't mean you can erase all the trauma, all the years you've done to me growing up. Just because I have kids and I don't want my kids to be around that.
Right. I definitely, let me tell you, sitting here with you, I definitely pick up on the pain in your voice when you talk about him. And, there's a tissue right there.
Like, I just feel like he wasn't a true father to me. And
how did that make you feel?
Like, I just felt like I was doing what was best for my kids, because I didn't need my 2 kids around that. Because I don't want them to grow up thinking that it's okay for what he did to me, for them to go in the world and say, oh, what happened to my mom's dad is okay for it to happen to me.
I'm so sorry. I always am a believer in healing. I'm a believer that time heals all wounds. I don't believe that healing is linear, meaning that healing is not just something that goes on a linear track and it's straight. I think that sometimes we go, 3 steps back, 1 step forward, 3 steps back, yada, yada. And we go on like that, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, and healing is forever like that. But it's so important that we always move in the direction of forward, no matter what. So what do you think that you can do for yourself to start moving in the direction of forward, and to start letting the hurt go?
Like I've started to see for the past 2 years. I've been seeing a counselor to
that's great.
to deal with the pain that I've been dealing with.
And is this talk therapy?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So talk therapy is really good. Like, just even with talk therapy, it helps you sometimes to like work through what it is, and it's so important. Like, even just having a conversation like this is very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Having somebody to ask you certain questions that you might not think to ask yourself, as to why it is that you see things a certain way, why it is that you hold on to certain things or suppress certain things. Would you say that there's some sort of a feeling or something that you suppress related to your father and that pain?
Like I just don't want like my pain to rub off on my kids, to know that what I went through with him is okay for them. So I'm trying to want them to have a happy childhood, not having to worry about what I went through, what they think that they'll have to deal with when they grow up. Because I already told my daughter she's not dating until she finishes high school or finishes college.
Yeah, I think that that's very selfless of you, to think about seeing the world through their eyes and seeing the world through their perspectives. Do you have any worries or concerns related to them going out into the world and finding partners, especially your daughter having not been in that, had the healthy relationship modeled for her for a little bit before you met her stepdad?
Well, her father is in the same way that my mother was. As soon as I had her, he stayed for about a month or two, and then he just decided to walk off. So she's only been with me. And then I met my husband, and she was only 3 weeks old, and he's been in her life since she's been 3 weeks old.
Oh, wow. So he's been there from the beginning for the most part. Yeah. Well, that's really good. Do you still think that there might be a sense of her looking back on herself and kind of blaming herself at all for maybe the ending of that relationship with you and her biological father?
Talking to her now, because she's 8 and she's starting to understand the concept of everything, she's not blaming herself and she's not blaming me. She's just more or less blaming him for not wanting to stick around.
Okay. And that's good that she's not blaming herself, but it's interesting. My father left me when I was 3. I don't remember him before that, but I was around the age of 3. But it's interesting because then I recently saw pictures of him when he visited me once when I was like maybe 4 or 5. And for years I was taught to hate him by my family that did raise me. And it doesn't mean that there wasn't something to hate on, because for sure there was a lot that I could say, he really ruined my life and lied about my mother and, did all these things and wasn't there for me, never showed up, never sent me a card for my birthday, nothing. Never called me on holidays, nothing. I just never heard from the man. But I think that, it's very important to also just recognize that her feelings might change as she goes along.
Yeah.
As she gets older, as she evolves, she might not blame herself now, but it's always important to continue to let her know that it's not her fault and that it wasn't about her. Because I think that as I got older, I started to wonder if maybe it was my fault. And I will never forget, I was at a sleepover and, I was just all of a sudden one day, I was just like, why does he not care enough about me to want to even call me or to try to see where I was? And, my uncle who had, sexually abused me, he had created a sense of, this feeling inside of me of like, well, he doesn't love you, or he never loved you, or, he doesn't care and no one really cares about you besides me.
Yeah.
And so that's something that happens. But I think that as time went on, my feelings started to change. So I'm almost like wanting to let you know that her feelings might change as she goes along about that. So just continue to tell her about that. And just letting her know that it's not her fault. And I'd like to just say that to everyone else out there as well, that, if your father left you, it's not your fault. It was never your fault. They are missing out. They don't know what it's like to be a parent. And they just quit, but it doesn't mean that it's not it doesn't define your worth. And so that's something I'd like to say to you as well, is that it doesn't define your worth and it doesn't define her worth. Do you almost see the connection of the generational trauma here, of that it happened to you and that that it happened to your daughter as well?
Because when she was 2, her actual father happened to call us, and it was me, my husband, and her, and she said it straight to her father's face that this is my real father, not you. And she hung up on him. And I have not heard from him since. And she's now 8.
And that's interesting because his ego is probably what made him never call back, even though it was an 8-year-old. And that's, the reality of narcissism.
Yeah.
Is that it's never about the child themselves. It's about what that child can do for them, or how that child can make them feel better about themselves. And so it's very important for her. I definitely, just hearing from what you said, it does sound like she definitely carries a lot of anger and resentment. And that's something that she should definitely work on. Is she in therapy?
No, I'm trying to get her into it with me.
Okay. And is she against it?
No, she's not against it. She's just scared to try it.
Okay. Well, definitely, maybe even just showing her that therapy doesn't have to be a certain way. Sometimes therapy is just regular talk therapy where she can just talk about other things. And then she can talk about her emotions about her father and whatnot, like later on when she's more comfortable with the therapist. But just letting her know that there's nothing wrong with that. And that, therapy is something that could really help her and make her feel better. I think that that's really, really important. So what advice do you have to give to people that have, deadbeat fathers and fathers that, mistreated their mothers? What advice do you have to give to them so that they can feel better about themselves and their pain?
Like, I just feel like before you go and have a kid with someone, just be with them for like a good year or 2 to see how they are and if they're willing to stay.
And then just like for themselves so that they can heal. What do you have to say to them?
One, it just takes time, like it did for me, and a lot of therapy, and just having family around you will help get you through this, because that's what I had.
That's some really good advice. And then what advice do you have to give to people that are in domestic violence situations, where they're being beaten by their partner, and they keep giving them chance after chance after chance to stop and to change, and they're not? What advice do you have to give to them?
Like, don't wait. Just if you feel like they're not going to change, you need to get out before the worst happens, like they kill you or they send you to the hospital like I was.
And what advice would you give on getting out? Because sometimes I know it's not so easy for people, depending on what type of, violent person this is. Some violent people they're just reactively abusive. Like, okay, you do something, then they react, which is not good at all either. And then you have those outright abusers they're out there to mess with your mind and abuse you and hurt you and then go back on their word. And they're also very toxic, those types of people. So what advice would you give to them on getting out safely?
try and coordinate like what I did, coordinate with friends to help me move my stuff out while he was at work, and then help me get somewhere safe.
So that does sound good. That is some really good advice. Also, I don't know if anybody is in the Connecticut area, but the Center for Empowerment is a domestic violence. They have a domestic violence hotline online. So if that's something that you're interested in, getting some help, or you don't have any friends or family or anything that can support you, that's also a really good resource as well. So Mandy, my last question for you. Everything that you've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, how do you think that it eventually led to you becoming you in the best way today? The best you?
Just looking back at it now, I fought through it. I had my kids. My kids are the one thing that helps me keep going. And just having support all along the way is what really helped me get to who I am today.
Okay. All right. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You've been such an amazing and inspirational person to have on. And your story doesn't stop here. There's so much more that's coming on, coming for you.
Yeah.
And you're such an exceptional mother. Even just seeing you with your son, earlier, he's so adorable. And you're just, I think it's so important that you just keep on with your healing journey. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.